First of all, I've probably had the least severe, worst day ever of someone who's played at least 1,000 hours.
It was minus 880. I sat at 2.5 waiting for my 1.3 seat. The blinds went through me. I lost 7. And then I lost 873 playing 1.3. And it was ironic because my only goal that day was not to have the worst losing session of my life. It was summer 2018. I was playing a lot at MGM National Harbor outside Washington, D.C. And I was at a mix of Airbnbs. This day I was at an Airbnb. A friend of mine was coming into town, so we were going to split a red roof for a while. On its own, it's too expensive, but splitting it 50-50, it's fine. So I had booked an Airbnb in an apartment, told the guy I was probably not going to use it, but didn't officially unbook it, like refund it on the site. And then because of the exact date my friend was coming into town, I ended up just keeping it. I ended up leaving a few days early, but I kept it booked, you know, paid in full. But when I told the guy I probably was gonna refund it, he gave away one of the parking spaces. So it's one of the reasons using an Airbnb in an apartment complex is a bad idea. Now I just do houses. He has the apartment, so he doesn't have unlimited parking spaces in the apartment complex. So he had one for me. When I said I wasn't going to be using it, he gave it to someone else. So I could still use the apartment. I couldn't park there. So I was parking across the street in a shopping center, and I was only comfortable doing that during business hours. Nothing in that shopping center was 24/7. So it would be pretty suspicious if my car were there all night when nothing was open. So I was only parking between like 8 a.m. and like 10 p.m. and I was playing overnight, and then my car was at MGM National Harbor, and you know that was okay. My car being there when tons of other cars were there, and when nothing was there, my car and myself were at MGM National Harbor. I was playing poker.
Well, there was a day I got a bit of an early start for that parking schedule. I remember needing to play 18 hours basically so that I could be done, drive to the shopping center, and feel comfortable with my car in the parking lot. So I didn't care if every single hand was rags and I folded every single hand for 18 hours. That was okay to me. I just didn't want to have the absolute worst losing day of my life, and that's exactly what happened. The only big hand I remember was Kings versus Aces against a guy who, although he was like 65, was pretty loose and aggressive. Besides that, I just like lost every single hand I played, and at one point I was down 880 on the day. Just did not. I still had money with me. I just didn't feel like playing anymore. But I didn't have anywhere to park my car when I went back to the Airbnb. So my idea was to drive to MarylandLive and keep playing, even though I didn't want to keep playing, but it was an hour away. So 2 hours would be spent driving there, driving back. I would only have to play like 2 or 3 to ultimately get back to 8 a.m. at the shopping center and park my car. Well, on the drive there, the thought of playing more poker that day started to sicken me, and I was about halfway to MarylandLive. I turned around and went back. So it was still pretty far from 8 a.m. when I got back to National Harbor, and I wasn't playing anymore. So I thought I would walk back to the Airbnb, which was about 2 miles. I knew how to get there. Oxon Hill, Maryland isn't a great area. I thought I would probably be fine, but I didn't like the idea. At the last second, when I was about to like walk off the property, there was a car in the taxi area. So it didn't say taxi on the car, it wasn't yellow, but that guy, whether or not he was actually a driver, said he would drive me back to the Airbnb for $23. 2 miles, $23. It's definitely a ripoff. I didn't care because the games were so good. He was actually pretty lucky that $23 was exactly what I had
besides the hundreds. If he said 24, I mean, he was getting $23. So he got exactly what he wanted, the 23. He drives me back to the Airbnb, but it's not done. I was back for the night, but my car is still at National Harbor. So I got in the apartment, I went to sleep, but when I woke up the next day, I don't have my car. So the next day it's light out. I felt safer walking back through that neighborhood, but it was like noon and it was like 100 degrees. So I walked back the 2 miles in the blazing heat to National Harbor and just like dripping sweat. But I got my car, drove back to that shopping center, parked, walked across the street to the apartment complex, got inside, showered, and finally I was like reset. I was clean, I was rested, I had my car. Then I went back out across the street to my car in the shopping center and went back to National Harbor and played 10 hours. So the literal goal was don't have the worst losing day of all time, and that was exactly what happened.